The new Tau Codex is out, and I am tremendously excited. I think this is the best codex that the Tau have ever had, and I was there for 7th edition Riptide spam. This book has the most internal balance, some of the most flavorful rules, and best army building I've seen for the Tau yet. I'm excited for the future of the greater good. Well, we've never done one of these before, but I want to do a codex review. Or maybe a codex reaction review. This week, the new Tau Codex just released, and I've just read through it. I tried to stay away from the leaks, and I only watched some of the previews because I wanted to inhale it in its full form when it got here. And we don't get these early. In fact, we couldn't even pre-order it because the local store was all out. I've been hearing rumors about the Tau Codex, especially the railgun. I saw some of the previews of the Hammerhead railgun and its amazing ability to ignore invuln saves, for instance. At first glance, it feels like all the guns have been amped up to 11. Railguns are better, missile pods are better, plasma is way better. Even the humble pulse rifle from the Firewares is better with an AP-1, and the ability to get an AP-2 in certain ways. And I've been feeling for the longest time, ever since the beginning of 8th edition, that what this army truly needed was not just a reduction in points in certain things, but a complete rework of how this army functioned. And GW has delivered. Some people may be worried that this army might be overpowered. And yes, there does seem to be a couple units, the Hammerhead in particular, and the Storm Surge potentially, that are very strong. However, anything can be balanced with points, but the datasheet finally allows us to play this army. I can see in this book ways to build an army that is functional and viable, that is massed infantry, that is mechanized, that is focused on vehicles, that is focused on battlesuits, or a mix of all three. I can see really good aggressive armies and defensive armies in it, and from my initial look through, I don't feel like there's any truly bad units in this codex. Some of the probably weakest units in the codex are probably still our flyers. I think they still don't really have a place. They don't really do anything better than anything else in the army. So aside from every single unit essentially getting a rework of its datasheets, which was desperately needed in my opinion for this army, they've also finally reworked how Markerlights worked. Now before, Markerlights was, it's a shooting weapon. If you hit, you build up Markerlight tokens on a target, and then that target is either +1 to hit, or reroll ones, or ignore cover, and that was fine, but a weird mechanic. It was gimmicky, and it required this massive tax on your troops, and then they couldn't shoot their weapons, and it just didn't feel right. I really think the Markerlight system they developed for this codex feels thematic, feels like it works well, and it feels actually beneficial without being overpowered. It's not a shooting weapon, it's something that is an action that unit can now perform. All you need to do is get one Markerlight on target, and then any unit can fire at that, use that Markerlight token, and get +1 to hit. What that also means is it doesn't stop that unit from shooting. So for instance, a unit of Pathfinders with rail rifles is actually kind of useful now. You're not making a choice between shooting Markerlights and shooting their rail rifles, which I love and I want to try using now. You can actually use both. One of the egregious things that drones used to do has now been changed as well. Army-wide, drones are just a part of the unit, don't count for morale checks, don't do anything, and they don't separate from the unit. They now move with the unit, so they're attached to the unit. Before, you took say a Riptide, and you took the 2 drones with it, and the 2 drones then became a separate unit, and you could move them around separately, and it was a little wonky. It ended up with all these tiny drone units that often gave up points for secondaries, and it was kind of weird how they interacted. They also had this rule called Savior Protocols, in which you could basically take any wound that you took on a battlesuit and just pop it onto a drone, and it meant that battlesuits, well, they were kind of invincible for a while there, because you had to chew through all the drones first. And the only solution on the GW side to fix that was then to make drones really, really, really expensive, which meant that they were kind of dumb, but this is the only way to make the army viable, and it was dumb, but they changed it. There is, however, a stratagem to tank that wound from a model onto a nearby drone that's not part of your unit, but now it's a stratagem, so it can't be abused as much, and you're not going to find armies with 3 Riptides and 40 billion drones. You're not going to see that. Battlesuits across the board are now way better. First of all, they can fire into combat. which was a tough thing to do before. You were stuck in combat and either fell back and lost all your shooting, or you had to sit there and hopefully maybe do one wound in close combat and hope you survived. It was a little dumb. Now battlesuits can just shoot into combat, so you actually can use your weapons properly. Battlesuits are very versatile now. They can still take 3 weapons, but you're not going to see battlesuits with 3 of the same weapons as much anymore. Because if you take the same weapon more than once, it increases in price. So now, you're kind of encouraged to split fire. Battlesuits were kind of made for me. You're encouraged to take anti-infantry weapons and anti-tank weapons and anti-elite weapons all together on one suit. And that's really what crisis suits have always been. They've been the unit that can really deal with any threat, the elites. And there's so many cool new ways of how you can use them. For instance, stealth suits can now take homing beacons like before to help a battlesuit unit come down. However, you can do it in the first turn. You can bring down battlesuits in the first turn. Now with their upgraded weapons, you can really use this to your advantage. I can see myself forward deploying stealth suits and then crashing down some battlesuits with flamers and plasma to really soften up the enemy while Kroot are advancing up the field. I can see myself taking pretty much anything in this list and having fun with it. And I think that's probably one of the coolest themes of the new codex. It looks fun to play. Now, caveat here. There's a lot of complaining on the internet. Now, there always is going to be complaining on the internet, but a lot of people saying, this game is getting too complicated, I can't keep track of the rules. And to be honest, before I got my Tau Codex and my Genestealer Cult Codex, I was of the same opinion. I would look at the new rules for the Sisters of Battle, or the Necrons, or the Adeptus Mechanicus, or the new rules for the Custodes. And I would look at it and say, it's so complicated, how do you keep track of all the things? And the game is just bogging down, and it's such a barrier to entry for new players. And while all those things are still kind of true, you gotta change your frame of mind. People are saying that about this codex, and as I'm reading through it because I'm excited about it, I'm not feeling those things. I'm not feeling like it's overly complicated. I'm feeling excited for the tactical depth it's offering me. I'm excited for the layers of choices that I have from what units and what abilities and how they go together, and excited to figure out how all my strategies can make synergistic abilities and work together and figure it all out. I'm excited, and I felt the same way with the Genestealer Cult Codex. I think people gotta realize that this is 9th edition. It does have more rules than, say, 8th edition. It does have more abilities, and there are a lot of complexities to it. I will not deny that. And it can be very difficult for new people to play in a tournament. But that's just it. I don't think new people should be playing in a tournament. If you can, go for it. If you feel you can do it, go for it. I'm not trying to stop you. However, there's a whole section of this book before it gets to the advanced rules for most of the stratagems and such like that. Don't start with all the heavy rules. Don't start with all the complicated rules. Don't start with all the stratagems. Start with a basic game. Get to know that. I'm actually gonna say, I like the complexity. I don't like Risk, for instance. I did as a kid, but as I grew up, I wanted more. I wanted more meat on the bones of the games I was playing. I wanted more depth. I wanted more choices. And I feel this Tau Codex has given me that. And I feel I can really play in whatever form I want to and still have a good fighting chance of winning the game. So for some of you might be saying, well, I don't want to play 40K anymore, that's not the game for me. And that's okay. Sometimes we need a break from this game. Sometimes I need a break from this game. But I gotta say, I'm invigorated and excited, and I can't wait to try my Tau against any other army. Bring it on! I'm not gonna go through every single unit in here because, well, there's other videos that kind of do that already. But I will say some of my standout units that I'm excited to use. Aside from the Hammerhead, which I've always loved railguns, and the invuln ignoring ability, I don't think it's actually as strong as people are saying. You know, looking at the stats, broadsides might actually be a stronger unit. The Hammerhead does have one really, really strong, amazing shot, but a savvy player is gonna hide anything that they don't want dead, and they're gonna target it down. And it's not that tough to kill a Hammerhead. It's got no invuln save, for instance. But some standout units that seem interesting, the Humble Fire Warrior and Breachers are gonna be a ton of fun. Devilfish are now really useful. They have an ability to make the units around them reroll ones, the fire warriors. They have an ability to move up pre-game move, to jump on those objectives quick. Seems to be the mantra of this army is versatility. You can do what you need to do to get the job done. One thing I love they did, for instance, is I love the ethereal Onshi. It's a cool model with cool rules and cool lore behind it. But previously it was locked to just Viorla Sept, and Viorla Sept is okay, and it's a little bit worse in this edition, to be honest. But now I can take it in any army, and it doesn't stop the Sept trait from happening on that army. I'll probably be taking Onshi in quite a few of my armies. Looking at the various Septs in this book, I'm torn. Farsight seems really strong, and I love the Farsight lore. Tau Sept also seems a lot of fun, and I love the lore there too. Borkan also seems a ton of fun. I've always loved the extra range and experimental weapons. Farsight seems to be the hyper-aggressive, battlesuit-focused army, and I do want to try that. That seems like a ton of fun. Borkan Sept seems like the defensive army. It really benefits long-range shooting, so it seems like the kind of army you want to castle up with. Tau Sept, though, kind of seems like the best of both worlds, and I think that's where I'm going to end up. The hardest choice I think I'm going to have is whether to do Kayun or Mont-Ka. This book allows us to choose between the two classic Tau maneuvers. The hit them with overwhelming force, the Mont-Ka, or the patient hunter, the Kayun. Kayun means that in turn 3, 4, 5, you get extra hits, extra dice when near the end of the battle, you probably have less units and need the extra boost of firepower. Whereas Mont-Ka gives you extra AP to your weapons, but you have to be remarkably close. So that really favors a close, aggressive army. And I've played aggressive Tau in the past, and I don't know what to do. And that's a good thing. And there's not one overwhelming choice of where to go. There's multiples. Heck, I'm gonna run Kroot. Kroot seem fun. They have more attacks. They seem like they'll do a good job of being meat shields. Vespid are even better. I love Vespid. Plasma rifles are better. Flamers are better. Everything is better. I'm excited to get some games in, and I challenge anyone to face the might of the Tau and its railguns. So, from what I've seen of latest codex for Games Workshop, I actually endorse this. I think it's a good step forward. It feels like it has good internal balance, and I wish all the codexes were like this. I really think the pandemic has unfortunately really hamstrung Games Workshop and 9th edition. I feel if all the codexes were out right now, I feel 9th edition would feel much more balanced and a lot more fun for a lot more people. I hope you're excited for the Tau Emperor and what they can do. There's a lot of juicy stuff in this, and I'm looking forward to digging into this and really playing some games of 9th edition Tau. And one last thing before I go, these are not fish people. I'm warning you, I'm watching you.